Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to ChannelBK. My name is Brian. Classic album review. I feel like every time that I start this, I'm always like, what am I doing again? It's a classic album review. I don't do album reviews anymore. It's usually within one time period, but guess what? It's classic album year. It's crazy. And this is the album review, classic album review, of Arcade Fire's Funeral. Arcade Fire is a iconic indie rock group from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Bleh, that's a mouthful. This album released in 2004, and this is the debut for the band. This was around the time that there were a lot of really big names that a lot of people know now in the indie scene that were blowing up. I suggest you go watch my Block Party review if you want kind of a little bit of insight on that. I'll be honest, I'm a little lazy, but I think that intro where I describe Block Party and all the groups coming out at the time is very much what I would say about Arcade Fire. Arcade Fire is not Block Party. There's similarities, but we'll get to some of those similarities and differences in a little bit. This album was pretty big for the group. This is around the time, as I'm recording this is before their new album's coming out, which I'm hoping is really good, with their debut single being Incredible, which is what's following up 2017's Everything Now, which is a no thank you, which is then a follow-up to 2013's Reflector, which is an album that I think is one of their more divisive albums. People really loved it. Some people thought it was mediocre. And then the album previous, The Suburbs, which went on to beat Eminem, Katy Perry, Lady Gaga at the Grammys. I was gonna say the Oscars, but I'm too busy thinking about that meme right now. But that was at that point, and I'll be honest, at that point in time, I was like, who the hell are these people? And I'm glad that I went on to learn them. And then obviously before that, which was the album following this, was their acclaimed sophomore album, Neon Bible, which kind of brought them into some new directions as well. To go back to what I was saying about Block Party, I think Arcade Fire is a very fascinating group because with something like Block Party, or with groups that have similarities but in different ways to Arcade Fire, Arcade Fire is grimy rock, but also like beautiful. And I don't mean that even in a way of like, it's just beautiful, heavy, hard rock or whatever. Like, the elements are very contrasted. Like, it's not even just they work well together, but they are so like, whoa, what's going on? A lot of songs on here in particular where there's these, you know, these hardcore drums and these great rock riffs, but then like the twinkling little bells and just kind of some of the fun little antics they put in the songs makes them very unique, very interesting, and I definitely think this album cemented themselves as one of the better acts, and also really one of the more exciting acts at the time. And this album, in a way, it's a concept album. It's loose, but it's also not. It has a lot going on with it. The name of the album being about how a lot of the members of the band lost people before the album came out, or even before they recorded it, which is crazy to think. I was reading somewhere, I don't know if the band said this, but for their first album to be kind of the last thing in life of someone's life is very fascinating, but it was a unique concept for them to dive into. I think the first half of this record definitely kind of follows this certain kind of flow, and then the second half, the B-side, is just does some of the most interesting, unique stuff at the time, and what they were building on was so unique. And they're a band that kind of goes from this sweet little indie band to this cool hardcore rock group, and then they have a lot of like very angelic, big, gorgeous sounds. But then there's times where their sound is like a big band in New Orleans. It's phenomenal. And what I mean by the structure of the album is on the first half, 4 out of the 5 songs are neighborhoods. We got Neighborhoods number 1, number 2. Track 3 is a different track, number 4, number 5. And did I just say number 4, number 5, number 3, number 1? Because I skipped that third one. But these songs kind of build a certain theme, and then the second half of the album kind of blows up into more kind of rebellious things, like one of the track names on the second half. But the intro to this album, Tunnels, which is the side name for Neighborhood number 1, is a phenomenal opener. I love the twinkling pianos. I love the drive to the song. I love the romantic angle on it. I love Regine's "Ooh" at the end of the song where it starts picking up. That's great. We follow up this song with number 2, Laika, which is Neighborhood's number 2. And this is a more straightforward song. I love the way the vocals are mixed on the chorus versus the verse. Like, the verse is very staticky or kind of warped. Like, it sounds distant, but also there's something on the voice. The chorus is a lot more open and freeing. I really like that. Again, I just love the guitar work on here, and I just love the sound. Like, it's very straightforward, but there's so many things happening that you can get yourself lost in. And then number 3, which I'm going to be honest, I'm looking here. Hey, the streetlight's all burnt out. A year without light. I mount a horse that is wearing blinders. I'm pretty sure a year without light is the translation because Genius is screwing me up. But that is the translation for song number 3. It is a more somber song. A lot of it is sung in French. There's other songs here sung in French because obviously they're from Canada. And this song is a song that starts to deal with the death of members of the extended family members of the band. And this song is just a really good song wrapped around death and the concept of dealing with it and moving on with it and this whole, having to accept something like that. Thought it's really good. It's very counteracted by the next song, which sort of has a really great transition since this song, the translation's all about like trying to find the light, this and this. Neighborhood's 3, Lights Out is the next song, which deals a lot with the economy from the 80s and 90s, this big boom. This apparently happened to do also with a 98 blizzard as well, which kind of mixes in with itself and is woven in, and the kind of the turmoil that at the end of that time, things kind of started going downhill economically. But this song is, to what I was saying about the contrast, the opening is dum 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 ba 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 bum 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 ba ba bum, but then it gets to the verse and it's like ding 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 with the bells and then the guitar, and I love it. I think the performance is great and it's fantastic. Then we get to Neighborhood's number 4, 7 Kettles, which is, again, another really well-written song, which sort of deals with the passage of time. I love the guitar on this song. I've always remembered hearing this. I'm going to be honest. I'm pretty sure I heard it from Napoleon Dynamite, like at the end. Isn't that the end of Napoleon Dynamite? I'll have to research that after this. But yes, it's an iconic guitar groove. I love how simple it is, and there's a lot of dreaminess to the song as well. But then we hit with Crown of Love, which opens up the B-side, and this song sounds like you're in like this dive bar, and it's this sweet, beautiful song. And then it gets to this crazy end, like, party section. There's a lot of like random transition to like party kind of fun stuff on this record. They love the dance. I especially love the strings on this song as well. There is a lot of strings all over this album, but I definitely think this is one of the better cases of it. The one that sticks out a lot. And then Wake Up, which is the following song, which is probably the most notable song. I would feel like, I think everyone knows the song. This is probably their most prominent song. And it's a great track. Like, I don't really think there's anything more to say about it that everyone else hasn't said. I love the slow build. I love the way the guitars are mixed. They're sludgy, they're loud, they're hard-hitting. I love them. I love the way it transitions to the second half, which again, like the previous song, kind of has this fun little dance rhythm to it and this more playful side to it. The lyrics on this, again, are very straightforward, but also have a lot of deeper meaning. The obvious name of it and the whole wake up thing is kind of the metaphor of waking up and necessarily not, it's kind of the whole, you hear the people nowadays, wake up sheeple, but it's kind of done in that way. As you get older and just kind of waking up and doing your own thing, which again will transition to the rest of this album. It's a great song, and I love, again, kind of the like, it's iconic. Regine pays tribute to where her parents came from on the next song, which is perfectly titled Haiti. I love the way it sounds. It's, again, like a lot of stuff on here. I think this is the most well put together song that is playful and fun and beautiful, but also dark and kind of gross and eerie. I think it has, the thing about this song that I love to compare it to is like when you listen to, like, for example, like the first Nas record, and where on that record, the moment you hear it, you're like, I'm in New York right now. I feel like I'm in Haiti. And you feel all of that. And the way she's singing, again, I think she's a great singer, great vocalist, but that mixed with the instrumentation and the like, you just, it's again, it has this dreariness, but it also has this rhythm to it that is infectious, which is the perfect segue to Rebellion, Lies, which is probably my favorite song on here. I think that is probably a lot of people's pick. I mean, there's a lot of great songs on here, but this song follows up the tradition of Wake Up, where again, this whole song is about, you know, not listening to the lies, and you're growing up and you're being taught one thing, but then you learn that certain things aren't important. And again, the song Rebellion, and I love the opening drive, the beat of the drum. I love the ding 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 on the pianos. It's great. And then I just love I was trying to think of it there for a second, and you know, the back and forth between Regine and Win. It's great on this album when it happens, but I love it on here. The every time you close your eyes, and then the finale strings on here are great as always. This album does something really well that I get nervous on with albums, where albums sometimes have like a longer section of a song where it's just kind of the music. Sometimes it overstays its welcome. This album's pretty good for that, because then we finish with In the Backseat. There are definitely songs on here that are references, and they talk about the deaths of some of these people that the members of the band lost. But honestly, this is the most like blunt one. This is Regine talking about her mother, Alice, and I love the metaphor. Again, it's this really unique concept of how the rest of the album connects. Like, it's a loose concept, but at the same time, everything fits together really well. It's really brilliant. Like, I love it. And on here, it's the same thing of being in a car, learning to drive. I love a lot of the metaphors on this, of this idea of, you know, her growing up when her mom died and her learning to drive, and the way the second half finishes with her whoo. See, I can't even sing as good as her. I'm terrible. But it's gorgeous, and I love the way it ends. The strings are great. I love the way it, like the pluckiness of it at the end, and it gets quiet and it just finishes. It's beautiful. It's great. This album's phenomenal. I think for any reasons that you could talk about this album, I think it's just well written, well put together. It's an iconic album. It's a classic album. It's definitely an album that cemented the band, and it did a lot of really interesting things. It just, I feel like, has a phenomenal flow. It's definitely one of those records where you definitely get a good groove to it, and it kind of gives you what you need, especially on the second half, because the second half has a couple songs that are long, and you kind of have to take it all in. But with something like Haiti breaking it up, even Crown of Love kind of breaks it up a little bit. It definitely helps in that, so then you're not just kind of sitting there falling asleep, because I think, again, to a lot of people, this, you know, I don't shame them, but it's one of those albums where they do a lot, and I think just musically they are such a great group that I just want to sit there and listen to them, especially on this album, because this album is just raw and aggressive, but it's beautiful, and it's very earnest. And that's what I love about this record. I think at the time when these groups were coming out trying, you know, they were these smaller groups and they wanted to make it and they wanted to show what they can do. This is just such an earnest record, and it's wearing your heart on your sleeve, and they just showed what they can do, and it's phenomenal. So if you like this album, what do you think of it? Comment below. If you like, please subscribe. I have more classic album reviews up if you want to check them out, as well as other shows. I do a show with Joshua Kirk, which is fun, where we talk about newer music. But other than that, we're going to keep going with 2022. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you stick around for more, and thank you for tuning in to ChannelBK. Peace out, everyone.